Welcome back to this Forge College Explainer. So if you were with us for the last lesson on ERC4337 and Smart Wallet integration patterns, we basically built the foundation for some seriously advanced user interactions. But now that those smart wallets are out in the wild making moves on Solana, how do we actually track what they're doing? I mean, without completely melting our own infrastructure in the process, right? Well, today we're making the jump into real-time event tracking. Let's get right into setting up webhooks and subscriptions. We've got a great roadmap for today. First, we talk about why we need to stop polling. Then we'll map out the blueprint, introduce a security bouncer, curate our guest list, make sure there's no double dipping, and finally, we'll put it all to the test. All right, section 1. Stop polling, start subscribing. Look, to really grasp why webhooks are an absolute game changer for your dApps, we first have to talk about why we need to stop endlessly asking the Solana blockchain, hey, are we there yet? Polling is literally like calling a busy pizza place every 30 seconds to ask if your pie is ready. It's exhausting for you, it drains your server resources, and it is definitely driving the RPC node completely crazy. Honestly, you're just begging to hit rate limits. A webhook, on the other hand, is like that pizza place simply shooting you a text message the exact second your order comes out of the oven. It's incredibly efficient, and it shifts all the heavy lifting completely off your client app and over to the event producer. So, what is a webhook endpoint, formally speaking? It's basically just a deployed server route that reliably catches grouped event payloads from an advanced RPC provider, someone like Helios, for example. Think about it this way. If our smart wallets are our users making moves out there on the blockchain, webhooks are the highly attentive listeners sitting on our server. They tell us exactly what those users are doing in real time, delivering the data right to our front door.
Moving right along to section 2, the blueprint.
We're going to treat this new webhook server kind of like an ultra-exclusive VIP nightclub. And what's really cool about the foundational structure here is that you absolutely do not need a massive data center to get this running. Step 1, you just initialize a basic Node.js project. Simple enough. Step 2, we need to open the doors to the public internet so the blockchain provider can actually reach us. For local testing, you can easily spin up a tunnel like ngrok for this. And step 3, we set up some very lightweight storage. Maybe just a fast Redis database, or even a simple append log file, just to keep track of the events as they roll in. And at the code level, you really only need 3 core files to run this entire operation smoothly. First, an index.js file acting as your main server router to catch all those incoming post requests. Second, a verify.js file to handle all the cryptographic security. And finally, a canonical JSON schema, which strictly defines the exact shape the incoming event data has to take. By keeping it to just these 3 files, your infrastructure stays incredibly lean and mean. Which brings us to section 3, the bouncer. Okay, so our server doors are open to the internet via that ngrok tunnel. But now we have a bit of a problem. How do we actually know the blockchain sent a specific payload? Because if anyone on the open internet can hit our public URL, what's stopping some random malicious actor from firing off fake transaction data, like pretending they just deposited $1 million USDC into their smart wallet? If we blindly accept that data, our application is instantly compromised. No way. We need a cryptographic bouncer checking IDs right at the front door. And let me tell you, this bouncer does not mess around. To guarantee the payload actually came from our RPC provider, the bouncer uses one of 2 methods. It can use an HMake seared secret, where both you and the provider share a hidden password to compute a matching hash. Or it can use public key signatures, like ed25519, where the provider signs the payload and you verify it against their known public key. On top of that, the bouncer always validates a timestamped header. If an event timestamp looks even a little bit too old, it tosses it out. This completely shuts down replay attacks, where a hacker tries to spam the exact same valid transaction over and over to trick your system.
Section 4, the guest list.
So our bouncer is at the door, but we also need to be super selective about who we even invite to the club in the first place. We definitely don't want every single random transaction on the massive, high-speed Solana network crashing our server. So we set up a strict guest list. We do this by registering a very narrow, specific subscription with our provider. We give them our public callback URL, sure, but we also configure filters. We tell them, hey, only listen to these specific program IDs. We also pick the absolute bare minimum event types we actually care about, maybe just transfer or account update. If an event isn't on that guest list, the provider drops it immediately, which saves our server from doing a ton of unnecessary work.
All right, section 5, no double dipping.
Now, this is a crucial point, handling network retries without causing absolute chaos in your database. See, RPC providers guarantee delivery,
That means if your server has a tiny hiccup and doesn't respond fast enough, the provider is going to send that exact same event again. Without idempotency, which is just a fancy word for not doing the same thing twice, processing event 123 a second time might result in duplicating user credits. And for a DeFi protocol, that is a total disaster. But with idempotency, it's like getting a hand stamp at the club. When the provider retries, we check our Redis store, see the stamp for that specific event ID, return a 200 OK to keep the provider happy, and safely ignore the payload. We do not double dip.
And finally, Section 6, Testing. Before we hit production, it's time to put this blueprint to the test. We can simulate an incoming event locally in 4 really simple steps. First, just verify your ngrok URL is actually reachable. Second, you send a simulated post request from your terminal using a curl command, and you manually attach an HMAC signature. Third, watch your terminal to confirm you get a 200 accepted response. That means your server logged it perfectly. But step 4 is absolutely vital. You go back, alter just one single byte of that payload, and send it again. Your cryptographic bouncer should instantly hit that with a firm 401 unauthorized block. If it still returns a 200, well, your security logic is broken and you need to fix it right now.
Oh, and a quick note on the data itself. Enforce a compact, consistent payload schema. When you're designing your JSON schema, only require what you actually need. You want an authoritative ID, the event type, the network slot, a timestamp, and the specific data payload. Keep it small, keep it rigid. That way, the downstream consumers in your application always know exactly what they're getting, and you aren't wasting any bandwidth. And this really ties everything we've learned together into 3 golden rules. Principle 1, always use verifiable delivery to block imposters. Principle 2, maintain a minimal, stable schema so your data is clean and highly predictable. And principle 3, strictly enforce idempotent processing so you never, ever process the same on-chain event twice. So, your server is locked down, your guest list is perfectly curated, and your bouncer is working flawlessly. Are you ready to monitor the absolute chaos of the blockchain? Because in our next lesson, we are going to take this incredibly reliable webhook architecture we just built and use it to power real-time monitoring and alerting dashboards. It's going to be so fascinating to see all this raw data finally come to life. Thank you so much for joining this Forge College Explainer. We covered a massive amount of ground today, transitioning away from those clunky polling architectures and stepping into the world of robust, secure, real-time event subscriptions. Make sure to head over to forge.college to explore our other resources and definitely check out that next lesson on monitoring. But before you go, I want you to ask yourself, now that your app can react to the blockchain at the speed of light, what kind of invisible, automated experiences will you build next? Keep building, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.